All right, hi everyone. We're just getting ready. Welcome to the live stream of this fabulous congressional press conference. My name is Brad Wolfe, and I'm your correspondent on the scene. We're just going to flip this around and let's see if we can get Congressman Stanton and Kristin up at the podium. How do I flip it? All right, we can see Congressman Stanton there, and Kristin's getting ready. And there's a microphone there that I might have to turn on. No. I'm just push that button up all the way to the top.
That turns it on?
Yep.
Testing.
All right, so as you can see, the microphone is now working, and we are about to get started. We have reporters here from, I know, the Washington Post, and I think the New York Times are at this press conference, and we're a wonderful backdrop.
Thank you for being here. Hello, can you hear me? Awesome. I want to thank everyone for joining us here today. My name is Kristin Urquiza, and I'm the co-founder and co-executive director of Marked by COVID. Marked by COVID is a grassroots nonprofit founded by and led by people severely impacted or harmed from COVID-19. And since we were founded in July 2020, we've connected people who have lost loved ones to one another to provide comfort, community, action, and purpose. And we've been each other's support because we've been ignored largely, abandoned, and our losses downplayed. Because the losses that we're experiencing have not been normal, and if we do not remember, we will never heal. So we are here today to deliver some remarks and updates on COVID-19 victims and survivors Memorial Day work, as well as showcase a few memorial projects that are going on. And I'd like to just take a moment to express deep gratitude to Representative Greg Stanton from my home state of Arizona, which is where my dad was, where he was born and raised, and where he passed from COVID-19. Representative Stanton answered the call without hesitation to step up to the plate and talk to our community, learn about our concerns, and work with us to start moving forward just really important legislation to remember. And so I want to pass the mic to Greg Stanton for his remarks, but also say on behalf of this entire community, every single day I talk to people who just are crushed and don't know how to put the pieces back together. And this may seem like an easy, political win and the right thing to do, but the amount of people that this will help to help start that healing process, it will save lives. So thank you.
Thank you, Kristin, very much for those kind words, and it's my honor to work with you and the whole Marked by COVID team. You challenge me and you make me a better leader and representative by asking us to do the right thing by this important community. People like yourself who have been so tragically hurt by this terrible pandemic, but the truth is every single American, people all over the globe, but every single American has been marked by COVID in some way. Thank you and the Marked by COVID team for your great advocacy, bringing us together today, for honoring your lost loved ones so beautifully, for working to make sure that other families do not have to endure what you and your family has had to endure. Coronavirus has claimed more than 600,000 American lives. Think about that. 600,000 of our fellow Americans. Every one of these people, these individuals, had someone who loved them. They were family members, friends, neighbors, co-workers, and their absence in our communities has brought profound sorrow. Each of us has been impacted directly by this virus. My own wife, Nicole, spent 5 days in the hospital from this virus. A terrible time in our family's history. Like everyone during that time, I couldn't even visit my own wife in the hospital as she was suffering from COVID. All of us have lost dear friends. Make no mistake, we are not out of this pandemic yet. The Delta variant is tearing through communities across the country, including Arizona. We still have much work to do to increase vaccinations and prevent more loss of life. But sadly, many are facing the reality that it has now been more than a year without their loved ones. Loved ones that they may not have been able to say goodbye to, or to gather with their family to mourn their passing. And so to honor and memorialize those lost and those forever impacted by this virus, it was my honor to introduce House Resolution 174 to designate the first Monday in March each and every year as COVID-19 Victims and Survivors Memorial Day. And I'm grateful.
Woo! Thank you.
And I'm grateful that so far, 50 of my colleagues have joined me as co-sponsors and more to come. Commemorating this Memorial Day is an important marker for all people affected by COVID-19. Long after our action moves beyond this grim episode, we will need to collectively grieve all those we have lost and help our country heal from this trauma. We need to let those who have lost a loved one or are still dealing with the long-term effects of COVID to know that we see them, we hear them, and they are not alone. In my home state, this day of recognition has been pushed by two incredible advocates who tragically lost their fathers to this virus. Kristin Urquiza and the team at Marked by COVID have turned their deep grief into action and have mobilized more than 100 cities to recognize COVID Memorial Day. Their stories and the stories of countless others have turned this moment into a movement. And we're going to continue working until we get this done. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to say a few words. Chris, thank you for entrusting me to lead the way on this initiative.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Stanton. I'm a little speechless. When my dad first passed, one of the very first things that I said was that, we are experiencing such profound loss. This is on the magnitude of a war, and we need to make a commitment to never forget. Not only to honor those that we love and that are no longer with us, but to ensure that we pass down to future generations what happened, what we learned, to ensure that we never make the same mistakes again. It is so important to me and everybody as part of that Marked by COVID community and our partner organizations that we make sure that their deaths mean something. That we make sure that they are memorialized so that not only can they be honored, but so that we have the space and time and in our calendar to come together and potentially start to put the pieces back together. Over the course of the last year, we have been working with people all across the country to connect them, share their stories. And this is not a want. This is a need. This is an absolute need to be able to be recognized in order for us to begin to process. So this entire reason to being here is not only to celebrate HR 174, but this is part of an effort called COVID Lobby Days. It's the first effort of multiple groups working together who are born out of the pandemic, led by individuals impacted like me, to show our elected officials that, pull ourselves out from the shadows and show our elected officials that we matter, that our loved ones matter, and to demand that we do more and push even the good guys to do more. On that note, we have organized over 120 meetings, both online and in person, with our elected officials, with folks in Republican as well as Democratic offices, places in rural communities, big cities, you name it, left, right, in the middle of the country. This is a movement. It's a movement for COVID justice, and it's a movement to remember our loved ones forever. So on that note of remembering loved ones, it's my extreme honor to introduce Madeleine Fugate. She is a 14-year-old from Southern California, Los Angeles. And Madeleine's going to share a little bit about her story and why she supports, memorialization. But, she is one of the most remarkable teenagers that I have met, because she saw a need for creating memorials, and she's filling that need. She's been working with families to create a COVID memorial quilt. And this really touched me because when I was a little girl, I lived through another pandemic, the HIV and AIDS crisis. And one of the things that left such a tremendous impact on me that I still think about to this day, that I thought about when my dad died, was the AIDS memorial quilt. And it being shown on the National Mall, and the President and Secretary Clinton, then the First Lady, slowly walking and taking in every single one of those panels that represented a life. And it really dawned on me that those panels were people. And so Madeleine, I'd love for you to show the world what you've been up to.
Hi, my name is Madeleine Fugate, and I am the creator of the COVID Memorial Quilt. It saddens me that we are not able to remember those that we lost to COVID. It has been over a year, almost 2 years nearly, since the first case started, since the official lockdown started. And it saddens me that we haven't been able to remember these people who have died. So what started as my 7th grade history final has now blossomed into a memorial project that strives to remember those we have lost to COVID. The COVID Memorial Quilt is, in many ways, a lot like the AIDS Memorial Quilt. It's panels that are, it's quilt panels that have 25 people each on them in the form of fabric. It's their pictures, their names, their stories, what they loved, who they were, and how they were to other people. The COVID Memorial Quilt strives to heal people who have lost people to COVID. And it saddens me also that we recognize these people as a statistic, as a number. So the COVID Memorial Quilt also strives to recognize that these were real people who died and not just a statistic on a TV screen. So that's my hope, and that's what the Cove Memorial Quilt is and does.
Woo! All right.
I'd like to take a minute also to introduce Rima Samman, who is one of my siblings in grief from the state of New Jersey. And Rima is working on permanent memorials, and I would love for you all to hear what she's been up to.
So my name is Rima. I lost my brother on May 10th of 2020 to COVID at only 40 years old in a facility. Like Senator Stanton, I was unable to visit my brother the entire time he was in the hospital, and then when he transferred to the facility as well. He passed away, unfortunately, within 48 hours of that transfer, and we were only able to visit him after he died. Unfortunately, because of the time of the pandemic, there was only 80,000 losses in the U.S. We were at a point of isolation, however, so although my brother died, we were forced to go back into isolation. We were not able to grieve in the format that our society normally grieves. No funeral could be had. The capacity would be 8 people can attend, and only 2 people can enter at one time. So we decided to hold off. We waited and waited and waited, and as time passed, the reality is there's never an appropriate time to actually hold this funeral for my brother. So on January 25th of this year, he would have turned 41. Deep into my grief, I decided to paint some clamshells yellow and form a yellow heart on the beaches of New Jersey and Belmar. I decided to take little pebble stones and write people's names on there. I posted to a local Facebook page asking people who lost a loved one if they wanted to include a name in there. That evening I was surrounded by about 20 locals, strangers that I had never even met before, who also lost somebody to COVID. They came, we sang, we prayed together, and we left. My concept that evening was that I was going to bed and I'd have to go back the following evening to clean it up. However, the following morning when we woke up, I had 198 messages and requests through social media asking me to add somebody's loved one inside the heart. My theory was I would keep the heart up for another week. It doesn't hurt anybody. It's in the middle of winter. So my partner Travis Whitaker and I went and we added additional names. That heart became full. So the next day we had another 100 requests. So 1 heart turned into 2, 2 hearts turned into 4, 4 hearts turned into 6, 6 hearts turned into 8, and 90 days later we were at 10 hearts with over 2,000 names displayed on the beaches. People started driving from all over. We had a woman that drove 900 miles with 3 of her children in the back seat coming to visit their father's rock because they were married on the beach together. I knew that at any moment the memorial would have to be removed off the beach. I really wasn't sure what to do. One day we had a lot of rainstorms and the ocean started to come up. So Travis and I went in and we basically just prayed that the memorial would survive. It had already survived 3 snowstorms. Unfortunately, the water came up high enough where it affected the first heart and about 25 stones were lost. So the next day we went and we started digging for these rocks. And I found every rock but my brother's rock. I started to panic, digging through the grass, getting very emotional, as though I lost my brother all over again. After 10 minutes, thankfully, I found my brother's rock. I looked at my partner in excitement holding it up, and he looked at me and he said, now I knew what all these visitors were coming miles for, and now I can understand why that rock meant so much to everybody. The reality, it was the only thing that's tangible that I have that represents my brother dying through this pandemic. And we have nothing else but a box of his ashes on my mom's table in the living room. After that, I started to write multiple letters to our state representatives, our state senators, and our state governor, and there was no reply. So we decided ourselves, we knew that there was something that had to be done, and we opened up a GoFundMe. We announced on social media that we would be pausing the project because we knew the workload it was going to take to remove the memorial. And although we decided that we were going to pause the project, strangers went overnight and built an 11th heart. And it was only a matter of days before that heart was full again with a bunch of names. And when that heart got full, they went back and built a 12th heart. So at that point, we found a carpenter that finally volunteered to help us remove each heart in its own shadow box, preserving it as though it appeared on the beach. The next job that we had to do was actually find a location. This is where it was very difficult. We had been turned away by everyone, letting us know that a COVID memorial couldn't occur because there would be too many names involved to display. But the reality is, it is too many names. At that time, it's 500,000. And now we're 4 months later with an additional 100,000. And this past Saturday, we finally found our home in New Jersey, only 10 minutes away from the beaches of Belmar, at a place called Allaire Community Farms, which has 12 acres. They have welcomed us with open arms. We will continue to preserve these hearts and continue to honor the loved ones that were lost. As of Saturday, we are officially the first permanent national memorial in the nation, honoring anybody lost in every state of the U.S. Thank you. The next 2 weeks, we will be focusing on moving the hearts there, and then gardens will be built around them. And we will continue to take and accept names of those that are lost to COVID. What I would like to point out is that all this occurred from a sister losing her brother. We did this on our own. I met different people through the memorial that volunteered their time and helped us, whether it was documenting names for historical purposes, whether it was gluing the rocks into the shadow boxes, or whether it was moving it. My plea today is for any senators, any government officials, anyone listening. If we as people could have done this much in less than 6 months in creating a permanent memorial, imagine what a national holiday would do. Imagine what permanent memorials would do across the nation. I can tell you right now, when people visit the memorial, there is a sense of camaraderie. We don't have to say much to each other, but just by looking at each other, we know that we share a common loss. And that is something we all need. Unfortunately, this pandemic has taken away all our social norms. So doing this for us would mean a lot to us. And thank you again, Senator. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rima, so much for being here and for all the hustle that you and Travis and the entire community have made. Caitlin and I are going to read a selection of names of people who've passed from COVID, and we're doing this in order to continue to ground what we're up to in just a very small fraction of the lives that were lost. After Caitlin finishes reading the names on her list, she'll pass the microphone to me, and I'll read the names on my list. And then I would like for, if you're interested, Laura, Eileen, and Jennifer to say the names of your loved ones who are no longer with us, and anybody else. And then after that, we'll observe a moment of silence. Charlie Will Jackson Jr., Ramesh Kusaba, Martin B. Cole, Libby Sharp, Frank Ferrier, David Gonzalez, John Hinton, Francisco Rodriguez, Alicia Rodriguez de Pifarima, Debbie Keating, Charles M. Ginnix Jr., Edie Bates, Cynthia Ryan, Carmen Arango, Luis Idanas Camacho, Sergeant Alex Arango, Deborah Cribb, James D. Vance, Robert DeBrock, Ed Hicks, Clayton Evans Jr., Juan Carlos Rangel, Matt Portini, Carolyn Lynn Evans, Andrew Gigante, Erla Dawn Dimitriades, Manuel Juarez, Jennifer Beeson, Fred Ochoa, William Bridgeford, Donald Mills, Charles Krebs, Mike Horton, Joe Hinton, my mother, Genevieve Martinez. Anthony Fadas, Leo Desario Aquino, John J. Kelly, Dwayne Odenicki, Butch Thompson, Louis Cruzaca, Rogelio Lechuga, Jovencio Garcia, Jovencio Garcia Sr., Jovencio Garcia Jr., Lillian Garcia, the Honorable Lillian Blancas, Patricia Jasmine Aldo, Paul Gray, Kathy Sanger, Betty Magoon, Paul Dunn, William Herbneck, Stephen Kuzkowski, Robert McGinnis, Tara Meadows, Dalton Brown, Christina Kroll, Ann Glover, Martin Briones, Fran Kapp, Vivian Metzler. Lisa Goldstraw, Farley Smalls, Peter Andrew Birdhartz, Linda Sanson, Rex York, Michael G. Matother Sr., Byron Ron, Evelyn Kensingen, John Waite, Joseph Allen Burt, Lois Jensen, Joan Baranek, Freddie Garza, David Perez, Stephanie Carducci, Santiago Camacho, Rami Samman, Russell Murray, Chris Fulton, Jerry Wagner, Trudy Tout, Michael Ray Mays, Manuel Juarez, Joy Marie Burt, Martin Addison, Michael G. Matother Sr., Nigel Muhammad, Edward Hughes, Joe Leonadri, Frank LaPena Sr., Richard G. J. Jenner, Susan Dell, Dean Perkins, Keith Jacobs, Robert Sater, Matthew Stefanik, Maureen and Kenneth Ciolek, William Ames, Simon Mendez, Michael Parisi, Ralph Studio, John Joseph Kobiki III, Wilmerd Santiago, Michael O'Neill, Paul Abramson, John Estampador, Marilu Lopez Santiago, Bradley Charles, Roseanne Marie Fox, Francis Giorfi, Jimmy D. Gaither, Miguel Angel Cortes Bebe, Ronald Mayer, Luis Gonzalez, Joseph Anthony Salziewiski, Kamala Mamuzelos, Stephen Nam Noon, Jeanette Nunez, Elizabeth Lamberty, Roy Hutton, Michael Yates. Any other names? I'll end with Mark Urquiza. That was only a very small portion of the hundreds of names submitted to us to be able to say here in Washington, D.C. I was recently told that if we said all of the names of everyone that we've lost to COVID, it would take 8 or 9 days talking for 24 hours a day. The magnitude of our losses, it's not something that we can wrap our head around. Not without doing things like memorials, Memorial Day, and I was really grateful to be joined here today with folks representing very creative permanent memorials. And I look forward to, after we pass this Memorial Day, working with folks like Representative Stanton for permanent memorials in places all across the country, including here. So I'd like to thank you all for joining us here today, and for the leadership of Representative Stanton and the 50 other co-sponsors. And let's keep fighting and talking to our legislators to make sure that they know that we are organized, that we are coordinated, and that we speak not only for ourselves, but for those who are no longer with us. So thank you.
Yeah. All right. All right, everyone. That concludes today's press conference. As you can see, as you can see where we are here, we have this backdrop. We've made it to Washington, D.C., and we've met with a lot of people this week, and we have the congressman here who's really supporting what we're doing. And I think it's been a major victory so far. The meetings we've had, the press that's coming here, and really the love that is connected to all these wonderful people that we've lost, that we're honoring with our presence and all of your presence watching this, and all the fight that we have in us to do what's right. So with that, signing off here. Thanks so much for being with us, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Let's all remember. Let's all act.